and to avoid anything that would reduce women's growth and their physical health. I intend to develop self-discipline in order to bring out the best in myself and in others. I intend to use what I learned in class constructively and defensively about myself, my fellow man, and never to be abusive or offensive. Sir.
Well, don't get up, stay where you are. Now lay your body back, put your head in the air. And then you kind of break down, break all the smaller, smaller. So you start that. And again. And we're done. One more time. Now we're gonna lean back, flip the mat, and sit that one. And go. And now go. And lower your back up. And back up. We're gonna have everything up against the target. We're gonna be doing the leg extension. Lean up against the target, back on the target like I'm doing. I'm gonna start with a right foot. We're doing right foot, right kick, and pull it out. And extend the kick. Long hand down. Right, left leg, see the front kick. And down, other leg, the right leg, extend the kick, again, standing back, keep front kick still. And down, and final flip, left leg kick. Over there, 1 more second. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Down, everybody come back in the middle of the square for me. Start up. I'm going to work under the back leg front kick. Start from your left side forward, so your back leg front kick, or back and down. And forward.
Yes, sir. Cycle starting up this Saturday. There'd be more yes sirs in class.
And God. Now we're going to move on to the side punching. You are style, so grab it, slide it near the leg, right back and down. And forward. Just side punching. Keep your guard up still. And God, you got it now, and move on to kick it. So here, exactly like my back leg is just sliding down, and we go off with skip, or skip, right back in the down. Anytime, skip, back in the down. Go for it. It's there. Right here. Okay, guys, now we're gonna put the back leg front kick and skip it together. So this is back leg front kick, skip front kick, reverse your guard, and forward. You got it. Yeah. And what do you guys think is there? Back leg front kick now. Fire back leg front kick. They're back in. And go.
That's it, guys. Peek those kicks. Come on, get them up there.
And side. So we got a skinny front kick or a side front kick. Side up. Fire kick, but back and down. Side up, kick, and down. Go. Okay, there. Your heel. Inside, you throw it down to, remember, it's very similar. When you take the slide and you go behind the step, front here, step, front, kick, right back and down. Forward. And time. Now we're going to put the back leg front kick and the side up together. So back leg front kick, side front kick, right back. And remember, you don't want to guard there, don't be kicked. So the guard. And five. And position. Set. Anchor. And drop down, like that wide.
All children. Everybody say, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
Right, love this time of year. Always an exciting time of year for me anyway. Right? I always look back at the end of the year and think, what are some of the victories that we had this year? As much as we look and say, this year has been filled with obstacles. Guess what comes with a lot of obstacles? A lot of victories, right? Unless you just look at the obstacle and go, it's too hard. I can't do it. Right? Which isn't my thought whatsoever. My thought is always, I'm going to make things happen. Right? So instead, we look at it as, here's an obstacle. Here's a chance for me to grow. Here's a chance for me to victory. The end of the year is exciting to me because I look back at the year and I think, what are all the victories that we had? What was the progress that we made? Right? And at every age, and especially at your ages, you should have even way more victories than I have because so many things are new for you guys. All the learning that you have, right? Everybody here tested for results, possibly. You all had to learn how to handle a virtual training platform for martial arts, how to go to school virtually, right? You're all forced to have some victories this year, whether you realize or not. On top of that, you probably had some that were just your own victories anyway, right? And a victory I want you to think of is something that you've accomplished or that you've done that is new. Not necessarily something that you've done before. For example, Sensei Bun, my wife and I go to Disney all the time. We go there usually at least once a year, sometimes a couple times a year. And there's one resort that we always stay at. So before we ever stayed at that resort, probably for 5 or 10 years, it was on my victory list to be able to stay at that resort. And then we finally were able to. And so, of course, I checked that off my victory list. So that year was a victory. And we stayed at that resort probably 10 times. So it's not a victory anymore for me because we've done it all the time. This year, however, when we go, we're planning on staying at a different resort, which has been on my list that I've wanted to stay at for a while. So it will become a victory again because it's something new that I've done. It's not something that I've done again. Does that make sense, everyone? Right? So your assignment for this week, and this is just the beginning of understanding how you can live your life by design. You can live your life however you want. It's totally up to you. This process is the reason you're in this dojo right now. This dojo didn't happen by default. It happened with a very specific course of action, a very specific layout plan that I had years before it ever happened. 5 years before I ever even opened the dojo, I already knew I was going to open the dojo. And it's just a matter of figuring out how it was going to make it happen. Right? And I'm going to share with you over the course of this month all of the steps to living your life by design versus living it by default. Would you rather live your life the way that somebody else wants you to live it, or the way you want it? The way you want to live, of course. And this system is one of the ways of how you do that. And the first step is think about all the victories from this past year. So again, your assignment for this week is take out a sheet of paper and just take like 10 or 15 minutes and write down everything you can think of that you did well this year. Whether it was you got a new belt, you got fit, you got an advanced training class, you learned something in school, maybe you went somewhere else. There's probably tons that you had outside of school. But I really want you to take some time, half the time, so think about all of the things you've accomplished. Make sense? Make sense? Awesome. From here, reach out as far as you can, Kendall. How often she's far, she's reaching out. Good job. Count back from 5. Time. That's much more energetic than that. Everybody go like this. Go, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Go, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Okay, now count back from 10.
10, 9,
there we go.
8, 7, 6,
Oh, you're just
5,
back up.
4, 3, 2, 1. Not back up, 5.
Wait, count back down like that live. Like almost half this class is jumping into cycle on Saturday. I should hear so many upstairs that I can't even think.
Hop back up.
That was better.
So we're going to go over, we're going to walk through short one shot a couple times, 3 times, we try to make still remember that. For the years and position. Yeah. Short one. Now, to the left. Step back left, and we're on. Right here. Step back right, and we're on left. Over your left shoulder. Step to your left, and you walk to the right. I will walk to the right. And can't over your left shoulder. Walk to your right, and you walk to your left. Step back to the left, also walk to the right. And shift over your shoulder, over your right shoulder. Also to your left, down, walk to the right. Step back to the right, down, walk to the left. And can't turn back towards the mirror. Step to your now. For the step, and back. And step. First wing goes up. Two more times. Stay on pace. And position. Yeah. Step got it. Joint one. Step to the left. Step back left. Go block right. Step back right. Go block left. Over the right side or left shoulder. Step to the right. And I will block to the left. Step back to the left. I will block to the right. Go over your left shoulder. Small step to the right. Block to the left. Step back to the left. Upper block to the right. Over your right shoulder. Small step to the left. Down block to the right. Step back to your right. Down block to the left. I can't switch to your right here. Now step to the left. And zip step. That anchors. One last time. Can you bring it? Make sure you're not double stepping. And that is, it is on the mat. We're going to get this and about step the bottom. Right foot like that. I want to make sure I step to the way I just did like that. I want to make sure I don't do this. I don't want to step up and then step. Do the two steps, you only want one step for each time. Does that make sense? Yes. So we'll do it one last time. And position. Step bottom. Short one. Step to the left. Step back left. You'll walk right. Right to the block left. Transfer over the left. Right. Walk to the right. I will block to the left. Step back to the left. I will block to the right. And transfer over the left shoulder. Walk to the right. I will block to the left. Step back to the left. I will block to the right. And transfer over your right shoulder. All step to your left. And down block to the right. Step back to the right. Down block to the left. And transfer to the mirror again. Step through. And position time. Start step. And step.
All right, so now from here, going into current curriculum. Your current curriculum this cycle is creative kumite, right? So you get to make your own kata is what a creative kumite is. Some of you have done this in the past, and some of you, you've never done this before. So the creative kumite, the way we started off is the command for me would be position, and then I'm ready, you go to however you want to start. So it could be that you start from set, you might start from an X block, you might start from here, you might start from a ready stance, wherever you start, that's where you go. And then from there, you make up your own kata. It's going to be about 20 seconds long, right? And it can be all of your favorite and best things. You can take it from other different forms. You might take parts of like advanced recon kicking, you might take parts out of shortry, you might take parts out of whatever else, or just things you thought up on your own. Now, of course, it still has to be our martial arts basics. So if you come up with some wild, crazy thing, and I'm like, what was that? We might have to change it a little bit, right? It still look like martial arts. That part make sense? And as you start this off, don't think to yourself, holy cow, I have to create 20 seconds of a kata all at once. All you have to do is create, like, if this week you did, the first 3 to 5 moves. And then each week you add on a couple more as well as perfecting the others. And typically a creative kumite tends to evolve over the course of 60 weeks. It doesn't all happen in one day. Even if you created the whole thing in one day, I would encourage you to continue to make it evolve and perfect it so it is cool as possible by the time the cycle's done, right? Now, typically with creative kumite, you move down the floor. Those of you that have done it before, I typically like you to be able to start back here and use like basically 2 of these boxes to do a creative kumite. Only this cycle, because we're under COVID rules, it's going to be you have to do your kumite inside the box. Make sense? All right, so you're going to have about 5 minutes to practice it on your own. Mr. Kester and I will float around. If you have any questions, you can just look at us like, I have no idea what's going on, or what would you better just raise your hand and go, and it's not just point, right? Make sense? All right, 5 minutes, ready, set, go! And a really good question, Josiah. For everybody that's done grade communication before, typically you would start like in the back and move forward. But because of the new kind of rules that we're working with, you can start in the middle of it and just like stay there and work all the way around it. You can start in the front and work your way back if you want. But you just have to stay in the box. Okay? Back to work. Sure, that would accept that. But it's, I would probably not put it in the front. If you put it behind you, you know the grandstand? I can't quite really do it right now, but yeah, that. So that with the legs. Yeah. And then if you want to do it from there, go from here. But the legs should be tucked behind the hand. All right, let's see how amazing these creative kumites are looking there, Zoom team. Remember the details, practice details right from the beginning with chambers and stances, guys. Ah. Alejandro, when you do yours, try and keep it in a little bit smaller of a spot instead of moving all over the place like that. Try and picture like the size of the boxes we have in the dojo and stay in that little bit of a smaller area. Make sure your punches are strong, Avia. Strong, strong, right from the beginning. Even with the shoulders. Keep your hands up even with the shoulders when you punch or chop. Sana, nice spin throughs. I like those. Those always look really cool. It's a chop. So just like if you were doing like if you're doing Kamaset, right? And we go this way. Kamaset is actually based on an open hand form called Ki Chung, where you would go here and chop with your hands open. But then we do it with kamas in our hand. So when you're doing that spin, yeah, when you do the spin through on your knees, that's typically what you do on the chops. I mean, you could do spin through punches, right? You could spin through and then go, punch, punch, chops, go back to the other way, punch, punch, chops. So you have options there. If you get that spin through on the knees, like you're walking in a circle on the knee and walk back in a circle on the knee down really well, I always think that looks really cool. It changes the levels too. So if you can go like from here and then knees off and then spin through on your knee, spin back through on your knee and then stand back up, it's like changing levels. So right there, Sana, go back and do that again. But when you do your first, well, stand back up. And move away from this, so I'm not like giving you the whole world. So when you do after the head, when you do your first chop here at that angle, I would do a punch from the heart level. Drop down to your knees as you do your chop. So do like a quick kicking combination just before that. Okay. I don't know, is that what you were doing before? Yep. So go from that chop into a hard go punch. Do it as a hard go first, so go chop, hard go punch. And now drop your left knee down as you do your first chop. Drop your left. Yeah. That's exactly what you're doing. Do that again. Yes. Nice. I love that. What you working on? Okay. Let's see it. It's really what? When did this cluster? Oh my gosh. Yeah, sorry. I still lose track of time. I thought we had till half past.
Everybody, please stand up front. We'll take a position. Set and your and your stand. You got to be a dedicated student of the martial arts.
As a dedicated student of the martial arts,
I will live by the principles of black belt.
I will live by the principles of black belt. Modesty, courtesy, integrity, self-control, perseverance, and indomitable spirit. Black belt, excellence, sir. Thank you, sir.
And step out, punch down, in that martial arts, punch up,
Awesome.
and our both things,
Bye.
Nice,
Bye.
guys. We're